Tell me about the last 3 months of Rustico. Welcome to the real F word. When it became clear that you may not be able to pull out of this.
Yeah.
What were the sequence of events that happened that really helped you to realize that this was the end of the road for something you had put your heart and soul and energy into for so many years?
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because even till the day we closed the website down, I mean, I actually remember writing the email and the social media that we were going to put on the next morning. That night at like 3 a.m, I was still looking for ways to get through it.
Yeah.
Right. And that was still knowing probably 5-6 months before then that things were probably not going to make it happen. I think if you would have sat me down and put me into like a truth serum, I would have been very clear, like, hey, this isn't going to happen. But the entrepreneur in me, and of course the visionary, was like, no, we'll see through.
You'll figure out a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. But at the same time, like I could see, I look back now and I'm like, I was super optimistic and always looking for the opportunity. But at the same time, I was tactfully making sure the employees I had to let go had found jobs and people had landed safely, knowing, I think in the back of my mind, that it was going to be inevitable. So that was a really, really weird, I wouldn't say weird, it was just such a hard, impactful day where there was a part of me that was super relieved to just finally be able to say, okay, I can close this down and now we can move in a direction that feels like we can go somewhere. And then another part of me that was just devastated.
You know, I shared my journal entry with you that I had shared on this podcast, and those final days and weeks and months before shutting something down that you've built are just really painful.
Yeah.
What was the hardest decision you had to make?
Wow. I don't know if there was just one. I think there was a lot of hard decisions. You know, I'd go all the way back to, you know, if I look at the series of events, those 2 or 3 years, and this is actually probably why there was a relief the day that it shut down is, and for a lot of people that found out and are still finding out, like I still get emails from people that are like, holy crap, you shut Rustico down. And that's shocking, you know, 22 years in to a business. But 2 years before that, you know, I had to let go my COO that had been with me for 8 years. We had a great working relationship, built a great friendship, but I had to say, let me let you go and let's move on, all the way to the different decisions of needing to tell these partners that I brought in with the intent to make something happen, make something big, that we're not aligned. And I need you guys to step out of the way if I can even turn this around. And having that hard conversation to finally fully just saying, it's time to shut the doors. And what does that look like? A lot of hard decisions there that, were tough to make. And that's why when we finally pulled the trigger on shutting those doors, where it was also a relief, it felt a little bit like someone, or like, here's my child that's been on life support for 2 or 3 years, and while you want them with you, you can't move on. And so letting that go was needed and necessary. Even though you don't want to see that. So, yeah. Ooh.
This was last fall. This isn't that many months ago, right?
No,
less than a year ago. First of all, thank you. These are personal stories and emotions and experiences that I hope bring some wisdom and insight and some direction to entrepreneurs who may be facing the same reality with their child or their business.
Yeah.
Right. And so thank you for being so open and raw
absolutely.
and vulnerable. I think that this is what I felt when we had breakfast, is the genuine love that you have, not just for a business, but for the people that helped create that business and that product. For me, it's that element of failure that is so hard when you feel like you failed someone else. And because those are human relationships, those are people that you care about deeply. And so the worst days of my career were not the days I had to shut a business down. It was before I had to shut the business down, having conversations with employees and partners about the fact that this was the end of the road, not just for a company, but for their contribution and their sacrifice and hard work. Yeah. So I can feel your deep and genuine love for all those people that you worked with.
Yeah, it sucks when you do have tenured employees that have been with you for a long time that have created and contributed massively to the vision that you have to say, this is the end of the road. And there's definitely a lot of your own personal identity tied into being the person that provides and supports and those families, and me learning how to unpack that was massive as well. And I needed to do that, but I think there's still a huge part of me that is a genuine part of me that really wants to help others succeed. And
I can also relate to that moment of relief. That as devastating as it is, you've also been carrying this weight around for months and years, really.
Right.
And now, the finality, while difficult, also allows you to start a new chapter. What was the impact to you and your family financially when you had to shut down Rustico?
Yeah, it was pretty devastating. We basically started over, went through a full bankruptcy. My wife at the time and I had both signed on quite a bit of the debt personally, guaranteeing that. That's very common. I think probably more.
Is that should entrepreneurs be careful before they sign
I 100%
sign up for a personal guarantee?
100% as much as possible. And we talked about this a little bit. I actually don't know, a lot of investment groups or banks or whatever will want that personal guarantee, but there's a part of me that says, like, I don't know if that's even in their best interests. Like there's too much that becomes attached to a business owner that has tied his personal home and his family's future into the business that may actually be detrimental when the business is in distress, right? And for me, for instance, I'll be just very clear. Like, not only was this a 22-year business and my identity was tied into it, but once I'm financially committed on a personal level too to see it succeed, and it is struggling to succeed and the hard decisions have to be made, it's harder and harder to actually make some of those decisions unclouded without because, I guess, of the attachment that the ties that you have personally. Like
your house.
If my house is on the line, like my kids eating and food and providing for them, like, will create a tint in the way that you view how do you make decisions in the business. It's really hard to keep that separate. So
it's really an interesting aspect of a personal guarantee that you're going to make. Yes, you're going to be in it to the very end, and that's what they want. But you may make decisions that put even more capital risk and more things at risk. And that maybe the banks at that point don't care. They want you to do whatever it takes to return their capital. But you probably prolong some decisions and make some decisions differently. I'm so sorry to hear that, Isaac, but it is a reality. The reason I bring it up is because it is a reality of some of these outcomes. Failure is really a stepping stone to success, and we talk about that, but we don't ignore the real financial costs